My name is Elijah Carr, and I live in Edgewood, a small town nestled in the wild mountains of northern Oregon. I'm not a superstitious person, nor have I ever believed in ghosts. But something happened that changed everything for me forever. It started with a stupid dare. On a drizzly October night, a group of my friends, thrill seekers, decided to go to the house at the end of the woods to shoot a daredevil video to post on TikTok. The house had been abandoned for a long time, and no one wanted to go near it because of the strange rumors surrounding it. People said it used to be the home of a family of tailors, mysterious, reclusive people who disappeared without a trace. I didn't want to go. But when my best friend, Ryan, called me a coward in front of everyone, I nodded. We arrived at the house around midnight. It looked as if time and darkness had eaten it away. The wooden doors were rotten, the roof was riddled with holes, trees had grown over it like a forgotten grave. The house had no electricity, but in a room on the second floor, a dim red-orange light kept flickering on and off. I heard that room has a cursed shirt. Jenna, the girl who was with us, shuddered. Whoever wears it disappears without a trace. Ryan laughed. You guys hear too much nonsense on the internet. But I didn't laugh. Something was wrong. We stepped inside. The house was colder than outside. The air was thick, damp, and strangely stuffy. On the walls, torn picture frames hung askew. Water droplets dripped from the ceiling onto the wooden floor. Everything was rotten, except for one thing, a shirt. The coat hung in the middle of the second-floor room where the red light was flickering. It looked like a black velvet coat, old-fashioned, almost Victorian. No dust, no musty smell, like it had never aged. Ryan stepped forward first. He didn't hesitate. He smiled, took a selfie, and put the coat on. This is the ghost coat challenge, guys. If I disappear, light a stick of incense for me. He joked, but no one laughed. The moment the coat touched him, the room turned cold. The red light kept flashing. Everything was dead silent. Ryan, I called. He turned to me, but his eyes were no longer Ryan's. His pupils were dilated. His face was deathly pale. They're whispering, he whispered. Ryan, don't joke. Jenna trembled. He started laughing, a dry, distorted laugh that echoed like fingernails scraping against glass. Then, in the blink of an eye, he was gone. No blood, no sound, just the shirt left lying quietly on the wooden floor. The group of us ran screaming from the house, but like some cruel joke, the front door was locked. No one could open it, no matter how hard we tried, banging, screaming. Jenna stood closest to the shirt. She didn't do anything, just was drawn to it. I screamed, rushed to pull her away, but it was too late. The shirt flew up again, this time without anyone putting it on. It wrapped around her like a living thing, squeezing her slender body like roots around bones. No! No! I screamed, but only just in time to see her disappear, leaving behind the acrid smell of burning fabric. There were 4 of us. Now it was just me and Eric. Eric banged on the door with a chair leg. I went back to the room where the shirt was back on the hanger, clean as new. Don't let it get on you, I gasped. So how do we get out now? I didn't know. We didn't eat or sleep for the 2 days we were trapped there. At night, sounds came from the second floor. Ryan's laughter, Jenna's screams. At one point, I saw someone walking down the hall, but when I ran out, there was no one there. Eric started to lose control. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to wear it. I'm going to break the curse. I stopped him, but the shadow was stronger than me. Eric had put on the shirt, and then I was alone. I don't know how long I sat there, my back against the wall, my eyes wide open, staring up at the rotting ceiling. The darkness in the house was no longer something that came from a lack of light. It was alive, breathing, and it felt like it was crawling through every corner to swallow me whole. Eric was gone. Like Ryan, like Jenna, I was the last one. The shirt was back where it had always been, hanging in the middle of the room. No hanger, no hook. It stood on its own, as if something invisible was holding it in midair. I didn't dare move. Every time my eyes strayed to the shirt, it felt like 1,000 other eyes were staring back at me. In my head, voices began to whisper, tiny, broken, distorted voices. There was no clear language, just sounds like tearing silk, claws scraping wood, and someone crying, right behind my neck. I turned. Nothing. Every step made the wooden floor groan under my feet like a dying man's moan. I picked up the flashlight. The light was flickering, the battery was low. I needed to find a way out, or die here like the other three. I followed the hallway down to the first floor. Everything had changed. The house was no longer the old house I had seen. The peeling walls were gone. In their place was old Victorian wallpaper, a deep red with ink-black borders. The framed pictures on the walls were back too, but they were faces I had never seen before. They were dressed in ancient clothes. No one smiled. Their eyes followed me. No. Their eyes moved. I turned away quickly, not daring to look back. But I knew. They were watching. Watching every breath, every step, every vibration in my brain. I ran. The front door. I screamed in vain when I saw it was no longer a door. The thick wooden wall blocked every exit. The furniture had changed. The house smelled of fabric dye, of corpses, and of burning candles. A smell like a funeral mixed with decay. I rushed into the kitchen. Once, where I remembered there was an exit at the back of the house, now there was just a long hallway, endless, with flickering lights at the end like a decoy. "Ryan?" a voice called out. I froze. It was Jenna's voice. "Jenna?" I called softly, my heart pounding. There was no answer. But at the end of the hallway, a shadowy figure appeared. I stepped forward. With every step, I heard someone whispering, "Wear it. Wear the shirt to understand, to know." I shook my head, covering my ears. "No, shut up!" But the whispers weren't coming from my ears. They were coming from within. The shadow at the end of the hallway was clearer now. Jenna. But not Jenna anymore. Her eyes were bleeding, her skin was ashen, her mouth curled into an inhuman smile. She held the shirt. "We miss you," she said. "You'll feel good in it." I turned and ran. I didn't look back. Footsteps followed, silk dragged on the floor, sighs echoed down the hallway. I opened a door and found myself back in the living room on the second floor. The shirt was there again, as if it had never moved. I returned to the second floor room, but something was wrong. It was no longer the old, dilapidated room with rotten walls. Everything had changed. The chandelier hung from the ceiling, the dim yellow light covering the wall, covered with classical, ornate wallpaper. Beneath my feet, the red carpet stretched out like a prestigious walkway. The air smelled of incense, but also mixed with something fishy and damp, like the smell of human skin soaked in water for a long time. The shirt was no longer hanging in the middle of the room. It was wearing a mannequin, a headless mannequin. It stood in the middle of the room like a wax statue, its body motionless. But that severed neck was still dripping blood, drop by drop. Black drops dripped onto the floor, spreading like ink mixed with fresh blood. I tried to back away, but the door behind me had disappeared. A sound rang out. Creak, creak. I turned around. The large mirror in the corner of the room shook slightly. I looked into the mirror, and I saw that I was no longer me. In the mirror, I was wearing a shirt. My body stood straight. My eyes were black. The corners of my mouth were torn to my ears. Behind me, dozens of faceless figures were surrounding me. Their hands were as thin as bones, slowly raised as if welcoming. I screamed, turning away. But a soft laugh rang out from the mirror. Not just one, but dozens, hundreds. I was forced to look again, and this time I did not see myself. I saw a woman. She was sewing a shirt. The black stitches were as thick as blood. Her face was calm, but her eyes had no whites, only black pupils. She was talking to someone. A child? No, a child's corpse. She sat the child's body opposite her, sewing and whispering. "This shirt will keep your soul. No one can forget you. No one can go." Then she hugged the shirt and laughed like a madman. Fire began to burn around her. Black flames, not bright, but only making everything darker. I turned away. Gasp. The mirror cracked. I touched the crack. A screech rang out, like a child crying in a charcoal stove. Then it exploded. The mirror exploded. Shards of mirror flew like knives, hitting the wall, the floor. But none of them touched me. The largest piece rolled near my feet. I bent down and this time saw myself, but there were no eyes. Instead, there were two black holes from which black smoke seeped, floating in hazy hands trying to grasp the air. The shirt was hanging in the middle of the room again. It was not the same. The fabric glistened wet, as if soaked in blood. The collar was torn. The sleeves were like two animal mouths open, waiting to swallow my arms. I backed away. I pleaded, "I don't want to die. I don't want to wear it." A voice answered, but it didn't come from my mouth. "No one wears it. It wears them." I was speechless. I understood. The shirt didn't need anyone to wear it. It was a living thing. A cursed soul, bound to the fabric, the thread, every stitch made from corpses and pain. Every time someone came near, it didn't wear them. It crawled in, attached, and took over. Like an octopus crawling through every pore. Like a parasite. Like a demon possessing a body. I don't know what made me step closer to the shirt again. Maybe because I was desperate. Maybe because I wanted to end it all. Or maybe I was no longer myself. The shirt shook slightly as if calling my name, not with a voice, but with a cold breath that seeped through my chest, pulling at my heart, gripping it like a corpse's hand. I heard a beat, not my heart, but from inside the shirt. I closed my eyes, and when I opened them, I was no longer in the old room. I was standing in the middle of a sacrifice. The room was lit by black candles. Blood streaks traced circles on the floor. Strange symbols in ancient characters floated in the air. On the altar, a child was tied up. It was silent, eyes wide open, unblinking. The woman, the one who made the shirt, stood across from me. "Do you want to survive?" she whispered, her voice like two voices overlapping, one human and the other, something crawling on spider legs. I didn't answer. "You just wear it and swear your allegiance. The shirt needs a form to survive. I need a living person to carry it into the outside world." I shook my head. "Then you will be devoured." All the candles went out. I was plunged into darkness. Then my eyes opened again, into reality. I was wearing the shirt. I screamed to tear it off, but I couldn't. It was like a second skin, clinging, seeping into every crevice of my flesh, every muscle. Every time I pulled, a piece of my skin tore away. I looked in the mirror. My face was no longer mine. My mouth curled into a smile I couldn't control. "He chose." The voice echoed from deep inside my head. "He wore hell." I banged my head against the wall. The glass stabbed the mirror into my chest, into my hands, trying to cut away the black threads that crawled under my skin like living earthworms. The pain wasn't physical, it was spiritual. The shirt was tearing me apart layer by layer. It was eating away at my memories. I was starting to forget my parents' names, my parents' faces, Eric's, Jenna's, Ryan's, then my own voice. Then, no! I had to end it. I had to burn it. In my delirium, I rummaged through the old cupboard, a bottle of alcohol, a box of matches. My hands shook like someone dying from the cold. I poured the alcohol over myself. It felt like a fire was already there, waiting to be ignited. I looked back at the mirror. Or rather what was inside me, laughed. "You're not brave enough." I struck a match. The flame was small, flimsy. No one survived. All became the cloth in the shirt. I closed my eyes and let the match go. The fire flared up. The smell of burning cloth, the smell of burning flesh, the screams of the throat, the howling of demons. The room was swallowed by hell. Pieces of clothes writhed, hissing like snakes being burned alive. My fingernails melted, my eyes melted, my flesh peeled. Then, silence. When I opened my eyes, I was lying in the middle of the abandoned house. There was no more fire, no more blood, no more the shirt, just a small pile of ash, black as pitch, scattered in the cold room. I lived. I had broken it. But a piece of cloth, thin as silk, clings to my shoulder. I shake and pull it off. But I can't. I was the last one to leave that house. I survived, but not completely. I know the shirt is still there, somewhere inside me. It whispers in my dreams. It smiles when I sleep. And sometimes in the mirror, I still see myself wearing it. No one believes me, but I tell this story so that someone will hear it, so that someone will avoid the trap in the abandoned house at the end of the road. If you see that shirt, don't wear it, don't touch it, don't stay. Run now, immediately.